My family thought I was like going to work. So I would like wear a hoodie, like, okay, I'm heading out. And then I'd like get to the city, change in Starbucks, like a full cat suit with like a blazer. Everything was all made by me. And then when I come out, the girls would be like, wait, what? I'd get to the front line. I'm like, LaQuan Smith. And they're like, I'm sorry, sweetheart, you're not on the list. And I'm like, honey, do you know who I am? Like, and I'm just basically giving all this extra energy. Girl, I was not on that list. IW Magazine, my name is LaQuan Smith, and this is My Life in Parties. I grew up in St. Albans, Queens, New York. I was raised with my grandparents and my mom. My mom had me at a very young age, so she was a single mom for a very long time. My mom always had me in the latest, the greatest. I was in every hot label there was. On Sundays, my mom had me in like, really nice pinstripe suits and taffeta suits. I would always get dressed up for Easter. I was always attracted to red carpets, whether if it was like a VMA or a BET Award. Women like J-Lo on the red carpet, shutting it down in Versace, and like Little Kim coming out in these avant-garde designs. There was also the Fashion Network channel where they replayed fashion shows all day long. And then I think like watching my mom, evolve into the woman that she's become, looking at how she would get dressed for work versus like a girl's night out, watching the way that like my grandmother was so particular with like her gloves and her hats for church. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer in like 8th grade. I was actually denied from both FIT and Parsons. I just had my heart set on those schools, and I was really devastated, and I didn't know what to do next. My mom was really just grilling me in terms of a plan of action, like what's the next step, what are you gonna do? And so I did land an internship at Black Book. I kind of over embellished it. It was like, I got a job. It was an eye opener, but it was also like a portal for me to now thrust myself and learn as much as I could. Around 18 or 19 is when I started partying, and something told me to wear my own designs. Whatever I was wearing, I had that in my backpack, and I was tossing them out to just like fab chicks in meatpacking or like in the club, and they would be like, oh my God, what are you giving me? And I'm like, girl, I'm giving you the look, like get into it. Women would like pour out into the clubs, and they'd be like, oh my God, what are you wearing? I'm wearing LaQuan Smith, That was my way of promoting myself. It was sort of like the concept of like how a rapper would sell his CDs in the back of his trunk. And eventually it caught on. My first product that I ever made was the 3D leggings and catsuit. Every chick in New York had it. Gaga was the first celebrity to wear LaQuan Smith. Rihanna wore my catsuit in the Rude Boy video. And I wasn't even sold in one store. I wasn't even in one magazine. I didn't have a damn business. Seeing things like that gave me motivation. It gave me a lot of ammunition to keep doing what I'm doing. It just felt right. After a while, I was running into like a bit of a dead end, because I'm like, well then how do I get to the next step? How do I make this an actual business? And then there's just also the pressures of my family, like really grilling me down, like, what is the plan? What are you doing? And I took a pause on the networking of it all. And I was working towards the debut of my runway show. At the same time, there was a woman by the name of Ruth LaFurla at the New York Times who did a piece on me, and Ruth LaFurla came to my home, and my grandparents were like, what the heck is going on in here? And they were basically filming me in my studio. My studio was my bedroom, and I had like my clothing racks, I had my sketches on the wall, I had my inspiration board. Literally 2 days later was my runway show debut. My mom was there, my dad was there, my grandpa was there, my aunts were there. I'm like prepping backstage, I'm like fitting models, and I get a tap on the shoulder, and they say, I'm LaQuan, just letting you know, Mr. Andre Leontelli has just entered the building. Oh my God. I was like, yo, is this serious? I'm having chills even talking about it now. I'm like sweating profusely. I'm so nervous. And after the final walk and I come out and I do my final bow, Andre is applauding, loud, clapping, like just giving me all the praise. My grandma starts crying, and it's just this whole family reunion. That day changed my life forever. You would have thought that me and this man knew each other from years ago. That's how much he just swooped me under his wing. Andre would take me to Vogue. He would take me to have lunch with DVF. He'd bring me to all these different studios, and we'd have lunch, and it was a journey trying to build what I have today. Andre was there from a creative, artistic, fashionable expression. It was really up to me to then figure out how to build my business. This was a very iconic moment. This is on top of the Empire State Building, and the models walked full 360 on the rooftop terrace of the observatory. No designer had ever done this before. This was saying like, New York is back, baby. This is Giselle walking a standard poodle. I don't know, I had a vision of poodles on top of the Empire State Building. So we had like 3 standard poodles and the girls were just prancing around 360. I love when I can create a runway moment that is just so like unforgettable. After the show, typically I would have like a really big after party and it's just chaos. I never really experienced it because I'm always in the VIP section. But after the fact, like I'm hearing like it was like a rah-rah 90s moment. Like people were like trying, like fighting to get in. I just feel like I want to create experiences. For me, it's like I'm just giving people another peek or another glimpse into the LaQuan Smith world outside of a runway show. This is a photo of Tiana Taylor and I after I hosted a Met Gala after party on top of the Edge in Hudson Yards. Everybody was like dressed to the nines in LaQuan Smith head to toe. That was where we actually served Popeyes on a silver platter. And also we served joints on a silver platter as well. This photo is backstage at my runway show, Fall Winter 2023. I debuted this collection at Rockefeller Center Rainbow Room. This collection was just really inspired by sort of like the nostalgic concepts of glamour. I was really inspired by Dynasty. I was inspired by old jazzy New York. And this is just like me backstage with my models, having a finale moment. To be honest with you, I don't think they wanted to take them off. I think they was just trying to go straight to the club in the looks. This is iconic. I love this photo of Beyonce in my custom shattered glass catsuit for the Renaissance World Tour. This catsuit took me forever to make because there's like little individual pieces of shattered glass sort of created in an art form that was all hand sewn, top to bottom, front and back. Ugh, this is also just so iconic. This is Beyonce for Tiffany's wearing LaQuan Smith. I would pass Tiffany's on 5th Avenue and see my designs there. It's a pinch me moment. It goes back to sort of my car rides with my grandpa driving through the Midtown Tunnel, like being in 42nd Street and looking at the lights and the billboards and getting inspired and wanting to be a part of something. Like that was that moment. I think Andre taught me a lot of things. The way that he was just brutally honest with me. If he didn't like something, he would say things like, oh, no, no, no. The runway decimates your refinement. Terrible device. Absolutely not. Horrible, horrible. And then I would go into like a full dark cloud. But then he would then later say things like, LaQuan, like, you don't need to do a runway show. Like, the samples are magical when you see them in person. I started to understand it was really about the body of work. And I think that as a designer, like, we get so pressured into runway shows and trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing. If anything, my takeaway with Andre was really just about growing graciously. Slow and steady wins the race. Take your time, but do it right, you know, and perfect it. That's kind of the motto that I live by, and that's what I feel like Andre has sort of instilled in me. We all know the destination, we know the trajectory of where we want to go, but it's really about like the journey, learning from it all, like learning from the hardships, learning that this is gonna be an ugly, but also pretty road, and like that's what makes greatness. Thank you, W, this was so much fun. Until next time.